Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Pisces energy. And like usual, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Pisces energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Pisces energy. We all have our dualistic nature. And in our Pisces energy, we have our dualistic nature. We can either align with our high vibe Pisces, which is kind of listening more to love and intuition to guide our decisions, having hope and faith and belief in our dreams, kind of have learned kind of what we find emotionally fulfilling and what we haven't, and kind of realizing to maybe invest in the things that we find more emotionally fulfilling, that we think are more aligned with our truth. And high vibe energy is about truth and love and justice and fairness, and continuing to grow yourself to you're kind of on your way to growing yourself to your full potential. Then shadowy energy is kind of indulging your more immature nature emotionally. And shadowy energy can be wanting to stay in denial of the truth. And there can be other things that we could make more important in our life than love. I just think eventually those things probably get old and kind of drives our life off maybe in the ditch, because the truth is love is the answer. And if we're in jobs, friendships, and relationships with people where we don't really love it, kind of makes it kind of drudgery. If we're in jobs, friendships, and relationships with people who are in high vibe energy, they're loving and encouraging and supportive, and we like the job and things like that, the days fly by more easily. So, you know, this might be something more that could be something that people in their that are a Pisces sun sign or have significant Pisces placements might more be struggling with right now. But if it's Pisces energy in general that's kind of deals with this conflict at this point in time, we all tap into Pisces energy. And if you harness some high vibe Pisces, you'd probably want to be in a relationship with other people who do. If you're more, you know, shadowy Pisces can be living in illusion, don't want to see the truth. Uh, we can all indulge our more immature nature because we all just want to feel better now. And, it takes work and effort to kind of free yourself from things that manipulate you. Kind of like the devil is short term gratification, but the devil can drag you down into hell. So, to learn when indulging poor behavior in ourselves or others isn't probably going to get us what we want. So I'm kind of curious about the top. Well, we might have to do the bottom row first, just because we have a lot of cards in the top row that are in reverse. So I might need to do this row first. So the top row could represent what we are doing or what we would like to do. The bottom row can represent our comfort zone. It can also represent some of our fears and insecurities. And same way for other people that we could be dealing with. Are we going in high vibe Pisces? Listen to our intuition. And the reason for the bottom row's reading is kind of the third chakra, which is kind of our life force energy, which can be our sexual, creative, inspired nature, but it can kind of talk about what motivates and inspires us and what we want to like give birth to next. And some people do want to move forward in life differently. They don't. It's kind of like they've been illuminated to the truth that something about the way they've been living their life when they get to that point. I'm just ready to give birth to something new, I don't want to keep repeating a certain pattern over and over, or I might start to realize, that the reason I'm not moving forward in the hostilities card is, it can just be fear. I'd like to do things differently. I'd like to give up some habits or some vices. I'd like to kind of quit doing certain things or thinking certain things or even being harsh and critical to myself, being more manipulated by my ego or by other people. But we could have mental conflict about speaking our truth, standing up for ourselves to other people in our life. But first, we have to do it within ourselves. we have to stand up to our own shadow nature, because our own more immature, shadowy nature doesn't want us to love and believe in ourselves and temper our fears and our insecurity and our ego, because our shadow nature would like to be in the driver's seat of our life. And we have to realize, when we let our more immature, shadowy nature in the driver's seat of our life, it really doesn't have our best interests. And then some of the people that could be happy we're in that energy, because maybe they are to some degree of their own, they want to keep living their life like that. And it's like, but I wanted to give birth to something new and I wanted to work through these things. And so first it starts within ourself. I have to stand up for myself about what I think is just and fair, because the Five of Swords comes after the Four of Swords, about maybe healing from past pain and heartbreak, thinking about what you think is just and fair, because the Four of Swords is Libra energy, about the scales of justice. And then the Five of Swords is Aquarius energy, which can be, I have a dream, and this isn't working out the way I thought. And it can be really, the Five of Swords can talk about it, causes us a lot of mental conflict, because all of the things that we've invested time, energy, and effort into, we'd like them to work out the way we wanted to. But if we're working together with other people, and in order for part of that dream to come into reality is for those people to be on the same page, for that to also be their truth, and that's not their truth, well, then it causes us all this mental conflict, is what the Five of Swords talks about. Some people have been there, they worked through it, and eventually it's like, I can't keep doing this. And they are willing to speak their truth and stand up for their truth. And some of those people have moved forward differently. Some people could still be in the mental conflict. Some of those people could be speaking their truth to some people. And some other people are like, why would you want to go do that? We should do this. I'm still happy doing this. So, we're all at different places in our life. So, the third chakra is kind of reminding me of Leo energy, which is about being creative and inspired to, the third chakra comes after the first one and the second one. And the first one can be about meeting some of our base needs and maybe feeling kind of a little stable and grounded within ourselves. And then in the second chakra, kind of wanting to work with other people, that we kind of feel like we got some of those basic needs met within ourselves, that we're ready to kind of work with other people. And then the third chakra is kind of like, we can stay at the third chakra for a while, just again feeling more balanced within ourselves, getting more confident and inspired within ourselves, learning lessons. And then eventually we kind of want to, again, maybe move forward in our truth. You can kind of see in this card that there's kind of a light here, where the next one, the fourth chakra, is the heart. And, we come in contact with all these different people in the world to kind of help us get more clear about what our truth is. And sometimes in like the first, second, and maybe the third chakra phases of life, like when we were little, we lived with our families. Well, that would be kind of the first chakra. We couldn't provide really stability and security for ourselves, and we were quite codependent and quite vulnerable, and we were really looking to those people. Well, then, we get a little older and we're going out in the world, whether that's junior high and high school, and we kind of want to get to know other people to kind of, because our truth maybe isn't really the same truth, or our philosophy of life and what we enjoy. We could be like the odd duck in a way in our family, and we're kind of looking for our own people who kind of like and enjoy some of the same things we do, right? And so then that could be like the second chakra. And then the third chakra can really, having had some experience of being in relationship with people who do seem to be more on the same page as us. And, we go through kind of those phases. You could also look at the first chakra when you're just getting to know someone. I don't really know you very well. You don't know me. I kind of don't know what, at the first chakra can kind of be what your base truths are. Again, kind of what drives and motivates you, what your truth is, what you think is just and fair. And then if you get past that first stage, then in the second stage, you might be willing to get them to know them more. And then as we progress in relationships, in the third chakra, hopefully we're being loving and encouraging to each other. But sometimes it's just that whether we're high vibe or more shadowy or more worldly, hey, we're on the same page. I love you. Let's get in a relationship. Let's get in a more involved relationship, or let's keep being friends. But at any stage of our life, there's going to be some things that didn't work out, and that's why we could be looking to have new beginnings with people. But some of the people that we could get in relationship with, we don't realize we harness this energy differently because we all think the way we think and view life the way we view it. We're motivated and inspired by what we think is just and fair and right and wrong and fun. And so do the other people. And of course, we wouldn't defend that way of thinking and feeling and acting and behaving if we didn't think it was just and fair. So since all of us at any stage of our life think the way we're living our life is just and fair, well, we think other people think that way. And then we get in relationships with people and we find out some people do and other people don't. And it could be a, a conflict right now in Pisces energy with people. Again, Pisces can be about, do we want to kind of live in illusion, kind of indulge our more immature nature, more caught up in the world and ego and looking like a shining star in the world? Or do we have more hope and faith and belief and love? Do we connect in with our emotions? Do we like to live more from our mind than our heart? Do we like to live more from our defensive, egoic nature? Or are we more open to love? The two is the indecision card is like the two of swords card, which is again, meeting people. And right now, just like every other phase of our life, there's some people in our life that we don't know well enough. Some of them we do, and we already cut them out of our life. People who at one time we thought would be more just and fair, and we kind of thought we were on the same page, and we found out we weren't. So you and everybody else has probably cut some people out of their life that at one time they were maybe hoping things would work out, but they didn't, right? And we could have felt kind of stuck in the situation because our truth was different. The Two of Swords, can be that we have these conflicting truths about how we want to move forward, how we view life. And so, when I get out of a relationship, other people have gotten out of relationships. We probably got out of relationships because we had these differences of opinions or what we wanted to give birth to next, our idea of the dream life. And people kind of felt stuck. So eventually, people got out of those relationships. So then we go get in new relationships, or go get a different job. Well, the difference is that some people are defensive to being more just and fair. Shadowy energy can be that people are tipped out of balance. And so it is more about maybe this viewpoint of some people are tipped out of balance more about the world. Some people are kind of tipped more out of balance about love, where it can be people who kind of offset each other. Like a loving person could get in a relationship because they're very loving and giving and nurturing, but they haven't learned and wrapped their brain around that love is to be just and fair. But they can go get in relationships with people who are a little more unloving or a little more defensive or a little more prideful or manipulative, but they think, oh, well, they'll choose love. I'll help them. I'll be loving and encouraging. Kind of like, and the Two of Swords can talk about, I don't want to see the truth. And again, we come in contact with all these people to help us get more clear about our truth. And there was some truth we needed to get clear about. What is my truth? What is my dream? And also being willing to see the truth that Just like some people have mental conflict about my truth, I have mental conflict about their truth. My idea of the dream life, some people are like, I don't want to do that. And with some of the people, their idea of the dream life is like, are you kidding? Because some people in shadowy energy, we start out with the deceit card. And that again, I kind of view the deceit card kind of like the devil or the seven of swords, and the seven of swords, like the five of swords, is Aquarius energy. So in the devil and the seven of swords, some people's truth is, the devil, Capricorn energy, I'm just more caught up in the world. That's my truth. That's why I want to be in a relationship. My dream is to have this new beginning. I want to be in relationships. I can enjoy relationships. But they're more tipped in favor of being in it more for these worldly reasons. Maybe a little bit more like I'll have someone to have sex with, I'll have status or image or money or stability or security, or I'll look victorious and successful in some way. Like I have what other people have. But it's maybe not really, a little defensive to being maybe more authentic and loving. Because all of us in our more defensive nature of being hurt can choose to live more from our mind than our heart. And that's where some people are at in their life. That is their truth. I don't want to get hurt. So I kind of am tipped in favor of letting my more egoic, false nature run my life, because I'm defensive of letting my more authentic, vulnerable nature out to play in the world. And that's what they have decided is a good idea. And other people are just deceptive, manipulative, egotistical, manipulative people, just hoping to deceive and manipulate people. And if they're successful at deceiving and manipulating those people, then maybe those people will keep indulging them and never like love and believe in themselves or see through the illusion of who they are. And we needed to learn there. It can be hard for people who are motivated and inspired by love to accept the truth, especially if it's people that you grew up with, or people you've been friends with, or family members, or people you're in a romantic relationship with. That some people, they're not ever going to do love. That, to them, that's the devil. No, no, I get hurt doing that. I mean, they'd rather be in a relationship where it is more about the ego and the image. They could not even care if if it has the status and the ego and the image. They're going to defend it because that looks good by worldly standards. That looks victorious and successful. And if that's the most important thing to them, that is their truth. That's what drives and motivates them. Even if they feel the people they're in relationship with are deceptive and manipulative and prideful or egotistical or bossy or controlling, because they are so manipulated by those things of the world. Shadowy Capricorn and Aquarius can be, I want to look like a shining star. And if those people seem to have those things that I want, I'll indulge them in a relationship. and and some of those people don't want to see the truth, that they're very much still turning their back on their more hopeful, believing, loving nature, because they do make these things of the world so important to them. So, anyway, we can get in these more mismatched relationships. We can get in relationships with people who are more defensive, more prideful, more manipulative, more full of themselves, more about the world. And all of us in our more worldly, egoic nature, we all want some of those things of the world. We all want to be in things that look victorious and successful. And, that's kind of what Leo energy is about, looking victorious and successful. Aquarius is about, it looks like a shining star. And Capricorn, it seems to be stable and grounded and abundant in a lot of worldly ways. And sometimes it's not really bad. Some people can be in really toxic situations. For other people, it's just like, I just really don't you kind of come to realize, I don't think it's really love that drives and motivates you. And I want in high vibe Leo to be in relationships with people who are more authentic and motivated and inspired by truth and love. And love is to be just and fair. And then you're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. It's not supposed to be kind of more tipped in your favor and more about you and how it benefits you. You're supposed to work together out of love. And if it's a romantic relationship, it's supposed to be because of love that you're in it. And eventually, some people start to realize that some of the people in their life, after the deceit card, we have the garden and the gate card, and that has a young feminine figure in it. And the feminines in tarot can represent how we think and feel. The masculine energies can represent how we present ourselves in the world and kind of action that we're taking. Because when we go take action in the world, we're taking our worldly vessel out in the world, and that is aligned with our more worldly nature. But the feminine figures can talk about how we really think and feel. And some people, they don't want to go, they have this way of living life. Like, I don't want to give birth to anything new. I like doing this. I have mental conflict about stepping outside my comfort zone. That's scary out there. And I like to do this. I know how to work in this environment. I don't know if I go out in the world, if this way of working here, where it's like this abundant garden and comfortable and all those things, I don't know if I can recreate that out there. So they kind of want to stay in their comfort zone. But when they get in relationships with people who maybe don't know them, is what kind of how I view the Two of Swords. I'm going to go find someone who hasn't doesn't know the truth about me. They don't know if I'm this or I'm that. So I'm going to go try to get in a relationship with them who someone, because this is why the reading came out. They could try to go get in relationships with some people who are more either look victorious and successful in some way, and it's like, hey, I want to look victorious and successful, or hey, you're off to go have a new beginning. I want to have a new beginning. If I were to go have a new beginning with you, that would make me look victorious and successful, like I've moved on, like I've changed, I've healed, I've grown, or something. But some of those people, they really don't plan. It's like getting in a relationship and creating the illusion this dream will come into reality, that it will move forward victoriously and successfully. And some of them are being deceptive about it. It's like, no, I'm not going there. you know but so long as you don't know that, I'll indulge in a relationship. It works for me, it's good for my ego and my image. Some of the people haven't worked through their mental conflict about something else in their life that didn't work out. And sometimes, shadowy energy, kind of shadowy energy, kind of represented by the devil. Some people are just trying to manipulate other people. I'm mad that someone I wanted to be in a relationship with kind of saw the truth that maybe I was kind of being deceptive or manipulative, or possibly, since that's a young girl, that whether they're male or female, they're kind of emotionally immature. And then we have a woman holding the heart, but to me, the dude looks like a lady, So in high vibe, this would be good, because we do have our more worldly, egoic nature, and we have our more creative, inspired nature. And if we're balanced, and the heart card and the heart can represent balance, that would be good. But some of these people are wearing a false mask, which is what, when people are operating more from their ego nature, they're kind of being deceptive, trying to present themselves as more motivated and inspired by love than they are, trying to get other people to maybe not listen to their intuition, overcome their own fears, to move forward with them, to invest in the illusion, to have a new beginning with them. I kind of look at the adjacent possibilities as kind of like the Seven of Cups card. Like, let's be in a relationship here. We're all maybe being a little careful or have some concerns, but let's go move forward in this. And creating kind of the Seven of Cups can also be about trying to confuse people about the truth. I'll create this illusion in the temple path that your dreams are going to come into reality, and they get people to maybe open up to them and move forward with them in a relationship. And they're kind of like, there we go. I got them emotionally invested in me and invested in the dream. And then as they move forward and maybe in maybe a more formal commitment, because I look at the temple path as Taurus energy, which can be about commitments and relationships and marriages, or like, take this job, or we should become better friends. You should start hanging out with me more, you know? Or we've been getting to know each other. Let's take the relationship to the next level. But then, because some of the people could have thought, no, 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 I can just move forward in a new relationship. I'm sure it'll all be fine. But they really haven't dealt with this card, kind of like the Seven of Swords, and this is the Five. There's still this Two of Swords at play, which can kind of be, is this really aligned with my truth? Do I think this is just and fair? Do I really want, why am I in it? Is it more because I had mental conflict, something didn't work out, I want to be in a relationship, and then I see someone else who might want to be in a relationship, so I go create the illusion when I still have all this mental conflict. It'd be one thing to become just friends with people and stay friends, but, the Life Force Energy card and reminding me of the Six of Wands of Leo energy, you know, people can be drawn and attracted to people and have their sexual urges. So then they could think, oh, what the heck, let's get more involved in this relationship. I still haven't worked through some of my maybe past pain and heartbreak, or if this is really aligned with my truth or not, but I might be making decisions more out of my ego, my pain, my lust, my greed. I just want to feel better. I think this is the answer. And I'm sure this will work. And then they go do that. And then this defensive energy comes up again. It's one thing to move forward in a relationship. For whatever reason, you move forward in it. But eventually, other people who are kind of buying into the illusion, and people kind of gave the impression this dream was going to come into reality, that it was going to lead to this new beginning, that it was going to keep progressing. And then they'd probably work through this stage and they'd go up to the next stage of life, the next phase of the job, friendship, or relationship. And then that's when the people could become more defensive. Part of it could just be people could always think, I'm sure I will, work through some things that cause me some mental conflict. And it could just be about willing to be more authentically themselves, come out from behind their ego, their more defensive, egoic nature, and be more open to that dream of love. But some people have done this many, many times, and it really maybe doesn't have anything to do with the people they're in a relationship with, but they kind of don't want to see the truth of it. It doesn't matter how just, how fair, how loving, and how much they could view those people as like, oh my gosh, you'd be like a dream come true. But they have this mental conflict then of just coming out from behind their ego to just get more balance within themselves, to work through, to get more balance from the two, to the 5 would be the 3 of Swords, sometimes represented by a heart with 3 swords in it. Just getting more balance within yourself to kind of let truth and love be more what guides the decisions that you make. But because of some past pain and heartbreak and other friendships and relationships and family dynamics or whatever that have gone on in their life, they keep defending, operating more from their self-protective defensive nature. Like, I thought maybe I would let down my guard. I thought maybe I could work through some of those issues, but that also in Taurus energy would be, because that's earth sign energy, about putting in work and effort. You have to keep putting more work and effort to work through those things, to see the difference that, and some people come to that conclusion and they do move forward with some people. Like, this person has been loving and encouraging and supportive, because you know, we can all have fears and insecurities and defensiveness because of issues that happened in our past, but other people offer love, and high vibe Leo is like, represented by the sun. It's offering truth and love and encouragement to yourself to face your fears, to get more balance within yourself, to believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, and kind of the 7 of Cups comes after the 6 of Cups, and the 6 of Cups can talk about making peace with the past. And that's when, you are moving forward differently because you did heal, you did deal with the truth. And the 5s can talk about change, and this card reminds me of the 5 of Swords. So we can all have had these life experiences. It's just that everybody can have some of the same fears as anybody else, but what is kind of the difference of people who free themselves from some of those issues over time, in their own time, and we all do that at different times. So, don't want anybody to be beating themselves up, but it is a free will choice. Do you have a little more hope and faith and belief in yourself, in your dreams, to not let people in your life who were shadowy, bossy, controlling, manipulative, defensive, hurtful, unkind, wore a false mask, weren't who they said they were, maybe a little more emotionally shallow, superficial in the 7 of Cups of Scorpio energy, maybe a little more stubborn or prideful, or more caught up in themselves or their ego and image, or that was the most important thing, weren't very just and fair and authentic and loving with people in their life, and felt like because they had these certain position in your life or in the world or in a family, that people would just keep indulging them, and they never wanted to see the truth of it, of whatever their own shadow nature was. If we offer love to the situation, it's like, I'm willing to see the truth that everybody has the free will to either align with their more worldly nature or their more hopeful believing nature and take action in their life based on what they think is just and fair. And I'm willing to see the truth. There's some people in my life that I don't think were so just and fair, you know? But I'm not going to give up on my dreams because of it. It's kind of like people have more of the type of relationships, probably, some of those people didn't have more just, fair, balanced, authentic, and loving relationships. Some of those people did have loving people who indulged them. And then people who were in that environment could have decided, let's see, some people are kind of a little more bossy and controlling and defensive and manipulative, and sometimes loving people will indulge them in a relationship. I could either be a more shadowy person, or I could be a more loving person. I think I'm going to do the shadowy path. I think I'm going to I don't want to have to be the one who indulges other people. So, and then other people, so some people free willingly choose that. I have looked at different people, seen how different things happen, and some people could be like, I think the loving people get manipulated and get suckered by shadowy people. Well, I don't want to be a sucker. I don't want to be someone who's manipulated. So I'm not going to align with my more loving nature. And I have chosen this path in life. And boy, if there's other people out there in the world who have hope and faith and belief and love, well, sorry, someone's going to manipulate you. So I'm going to be one of those people. I mean, some people could consciously really decide that, which could be hard to believe, but people who might live more from their mind than their heart might think that. Some people might know some people who were loving and nurturing to someone who maybe did have status or image or money, maybe had some shadowy ways about them, but it worked for them, and it kind of made them look like a shining star, where successful and victorious in life, where maybe it wouldn't have worked out that way otherwise. And some people could be like, huh, well, maybe I could do that. For the people who could have thought, this isn't really the truth of who I am, being more shadowy. But I think instead of using and getting in relationships with people who are more aligned with my truth, I think I'll abuse my more loving nature and make it more about trying to manipulate people who have more of those things in the world. So they're kind of shadowy too. you know, Again, kind of just making their life so much more of being manipulated by their more worldly, egoic nature of, and probably people who don't, shadowy energy can be caught up in shadowy Pisces in the illusion of the world. Pisces also represented by the moon card, not seeing things clearly, defensive to seeing the truth, which again, Leo energy in high vibe, also kind of represented by the sun. They have mental conflict about aligning with their more intuitive, creative, hopeful, believing, loving nature, believing in themselves, believing in their dreams, harnessing a more high vibe. Libra, Capricorn, I would view this as kind of like a Four of Pentacles, Capricorn energy. This kind of reminds me of the Queen of Cups and Libra, which I view both of those as Scorpio, and Taurus and Aquarius and Leo. We either are willing to change, willing to see the truth of where I need to heal and grow and mature, how other people in my life need to heal and grow and mature, and I don't want to keep doing that. That could have worked for them. That was their free will choice. They had the free will to live their life whatever way they want. I just don't even want to be in a shadowy relationship where it can be more transactional. I'll kind of indulge you if you seem to have more of the things that I want in a shadowy, more worldly nature. Or if I have more of what people want in the world, then people should indulge me. And that is a shadowy Taurus relationship that anybody in their philosophy of life can have. And that is how people view relationships. And that's why some people don't want to come out from behind their ego and do love, even if they're in relationship with loving people, because they do view that whoever, being around people who abuse their position and their authority, and they maybe could have dealt with people in their life who they loved, who tried to use the love that they had for them to manipulate them. Well, that is all for them to work out, because other people have went through that also, and those people were willing to deal with the truth of it and see the truth of it. Yeah, I think those people were kind of manipulative or bossy or controlling or stubborn or prideful, or used the love that I had for them, or were full of themselves, or had their addictions or whatever the hell it was. Some other people have a lot harder time, and then the other people were also willing to see how they could have contributed to it by being more codependent, more immature, more caught up in the world, blah blah. And they were willing to deal with the truth of all of it, because the truth sets them free. I don't want to keep repeating this pattern. And other people can have a lot harder time. Well, they have a hard time seeing the truth about some people in their life and distinguishing those people from other people in their life. Well, I'm afraid you're kind of going to be like them. It's like, do I seem to be like them? Well, no, but you could become like them. It's like, well, that's kind of getting caught up. How about have some hope and faith and belief in people and believe in yourself and stand up for your truth and enjoy your life. And if other people are working together with you that way, maybe you could move together forward and enjoy your life, getting along and living the life of your dreams forever. And if people start to act shadowy, then you communicate your truth. What's going on here? You seem to be acting a little deceptive or manipulative or whatever. But between all of those things, people could have a problem of communicating their truth, get caught up in their head, get caught up in their fear, and then instead of working through it and maybe listening to their intuition, because they might not trust their intuition again. No, no, no. That could lead me down the wrong path. Even though, because the Two of Swords can kind of represent listening to our intuition has our best interests at heart. But if someone's intuition is telling them, this person is being authentic, this person is being just and fair, this person is trying to work with you cooperatively to move this forward in love, what they might not want to see the truth of is that they could come up with all these different things that they get up in their head about, but really it's more that they're afraid of listening to their intuition, and it is getting them kind of up in their head because they feel like coming out from behind their ego and really loving someone. And so then, because they are so fearful of love and they could be hurt and they could be manipulated or, all these things that they get up in their head about, they decide, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm going to stay back here. I might do some things that kind of show that I have some mental conflict and I'm defensive and I'm not offering truth and love to the situation. And part of the reason is because they might not want to admit it to themselves, but it's some issues they haven't wanted to see the truth of yet that they need to deal with. And other people in their life were trying to be loving and encouraging, but eventually it's kind of like, is this dream going to come into reality or not? And they could start to see some of these things that manipulate them, or that they're just a more shadowy person and their dream isn't ever going to come into reality with that person because they won't be more authentic, or they really don't want to be more just and fair, and they really are more about the status or the ego or image or themselves, or just don't really want to do deep meaningful relationships. And then the other people are like, I'm not doing that anymore. This is my truth and what I defend and what I want to kind of guides me to what I want to give birth to next and what I view as victorious and successful. And apparently, you have a different way of looking at things, and your idea of the dream life and how you want to keep moving forward is different. And that's when some people leave the job, friendship, or the relationship, and some people could be doing that now or thinking about doing it with some of the people in their life. So, for some of the people who did and some of the people who are now going through something like that, we go to the top row, and the reason for the top row's reading coming out is blossoming abundance in reverse. Again, we want to give birth to something new. We don't want to keep repeating a pattern. It's like having someone who seems to move forward like, oh yeah, I'm willing to do that. And, if there's been some behavior that people didn't care for. And they're like, oh no, I'm willing to put in the work and effort. And, it seems like they've changed and like things are moving forward. And then they kind of revert and do some of the same old shit again. It never gets past the little stage, because that requires more of a shift in their whole philosophy of life and how they look at life, and kind of a core foundational truth of really kind of what more drives and motivates them. And if some people are like, no, I don't want to be more authentically myself, I'm fearful, they do things to not be more authentically themselves. If they do like to live more from their mind than their heart, and people want them to be more just and fair, they'll revert back to being not more just and fair, or to grow up and mature themselves, work through their mental conflict, get more balance within themselves. It's like wearing a false mask to create the illusion in the workplace, the friendship, the family dynamic, the marriage, whatever. But then the same old thing happens again, and other people see nothing new is going to grow here. And maybe again with blossoming abundance, it can kind of feel like it doesn't really become more lush and vibrant over time. And shadowy Scorpio, that I view the Queen of Cups and the Seven of Cups as, it can be a more superficial, shallow relationship. Can it look in Taurus and Aquarius and Leo and Capricorn and all those things like really victorious and successful and by worldly standards? Yeah. And that can also contribute to part of the reason why we don't want to leave it, because in our worldly nature, we want those things. And we also emotionally, the high vibe people, actually emotionally invested and put in work and effort to try to make it victorious and successful. And we have a hard time letting go of something that we kind of put that work and effort into. We want it to work. But if one person is kind of putting in the work and effort and being more just and fair and authentic and loving and encouraging and kind of walking the talk, and the other person just seems to create the illusion of doing that, people who are more, you could say, mature, more tempered, more balanced, more loving, more willing to see where they need to grow and heal and mature, and they see other people don't want to do that. It's kind of like being, just maybe even consider being in a relationship with someone who still has some work to do on the first and second level of their life to be more ready, to be more authentic. And the process of becoming is kind of like how I view high vibe Leo. It is going through these life experiences, and some people either just invested more time, energy, and effort and thought into kind of throughout their life, kind of getting more clear about what their truth was in these situations where other people didn't, or they've just had more life experience than some other people. And there too, they probably also more emotionally invested themselves in people. And then you kind of get more experience of picking yourself back up and dusting yourself off. And high vibe Scorpio, that anyone can harness, is like, I'm willing to kind of go on the roller coaster of life emotionally. I know everything I go pursue isn't going to work out the way I want, but I'm not willing to stay here and not let my more emotional nature go out to play in the world and live more from my mind and my heart. I want to. I'm inspired to want to kind of grow myself emotionally, and that means I've got to put myself out there emotionally in relationships. And sometimes we can move forward in relationships where they're kind of more mismatched, and the other people really do not want us to go, because you could be a very loving, nurturing person, and they know you want to probably stay in the relationship and you'd like it to work, but shadowy energy, can just be where people could think, well, I do know you love me, and I do know you're, and, it can just be shadowy where it's kind of jealous and envious. Like, why are you like that? I'm not like that. Why are you kind of more loving and giving and nurturing and willing to be more authentically yourself? But I don't, but I might try to present myself as someone who's like that. But they kind of know they're wearing a false mask, that it's not really the truth of who they are. But then that causes them mental conflict because they don't like to admit to themselves, kind of, that they could present themselves in the world to be a certain type of person. But then they can get in relationships with people who are more the real deal, or work through some of their issues to be more comfortable in their own skin and free themselves from some of the things that could have manipulated both of them at one time. And then they kind of don't like that you kind of freed yourself from some of those things. And then they can be afraid that you won't want to keep staying in a relationship with them. And so then they can be kind of bossy or controlling, and it's all out of these fears, and investing all that time, energy, and effort into like all these things that get them up in their head and their fear that you're going to leave, instead of thinking, why do I think that? Why don't I think that if they wanted to be in a relationship with me and view me as someone that they have wanted to be in a relationship, and I maybe, part of it is because for some of them, that really wasn't their truth. They could have, it's like a high vibe person, kind of like a empath narcissist paradigm, where you could have felt like, oh my gosh, I got in a relationship with someone who seems to be more just, very more stable, more grounded, more mature than some of the other people. But some of those people are just people who wear a better false mask, and they know how to present themselves better in the world. You know, other people were kind of being authentically who they were, and we don't want to keep staying in a relationship with them because they were more immature or more prideful. And these people could be that way too, but they cover it better, you know? And they really don't want to be in a more just, fair, or authentic relationship, but want to be in a relationship with people who are like that. So they seem like that. But then again, with some people, you are just a stepping stone to for them to like learn these things, and good for their ego and image. And then it's like, oh, you can go, I'm going to go find bigger fish to fry. If the real intention of what drives and motivates them, and that's why if you're in a relationship with people that don't seem more genuine, authentic, and loving, and do seem more driven by the ego and the image, if that's what ultimately drives and motivates them, it doesn't really matter if they have love for you and you have love for them, and everything could look really victorious and successful. It's kind of like the devil. Enough is never enough. I need more status and image. I need more attention. I need more money. I need more power. I need more influence. I need more, 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 more. And it's just to kind of learn these things from other people, and then they're going to go take those things, their show on the road. And that's also kind of shadowy Leo energy that people harness within themselves. It's all trying to manipulate people and create this illusion about who you are so you can like social climb. And just like some of you have went through that, some other people have went through that. And when we see the truth about people in our life who it isn't really truth and love and justice and fairness, being more tipped in favor of that versus tipped more in favor of being about themselves, hiding behind their ego, or making their life more about the world, other people get out of those relationships. And we have the fifth chakra of the throat in reverse, the journey in reverse, and the thinking woman in reverse. Eventually, people stand up for their truth, and the throat chakra, the fifth chakra, is Taurus energy. This isn't my truth. People spoke their truth, they move forward, and they're not investing in that truth or defending that way of living life anymore. And probably not communicating unless absolutely necessary with some of those people in their life. And in the journey reverse, they're not moving forward with those people anymore. And again, the journey card is kind of reminds me of the Fool card and the Eight of Wands of Sagittarius, which can be about the wands, can be about communication. It can also be that doesn't motivate and inspire me. At one time, in our being more caught up in the world, and we had these lessons to learn, we were more caught up in the world. And now you're not as caught up in the world. And in the Queen of Swords reverse, which is Aquarius energy, we all, probably for the first 30 to 50 years of our life, were really pretty caught up in the world. And there's all these things we wanted to manifest and things we wanted to go indulge in. We thought we were living the dream and it was part of our dream. Part of that can be getting married and having children. But we may be, again, in a more shadowy Aquarius energy. We were kind of more defensive to listening to our intuition, loving ourselves, believing in ourselves. We could have been a more codependent energy, which can be looking to other people to love us. And again, in a more worldly nature, thinking, no, I need to work more with these things of the world than loving and believing in myself and listening to my intuition. That's how you do it, right? That's how you make these things work. And it's like, if we would have been more willing to listen to our intuition than our fear and our codependency and let these things of the world that we wanted to go indulge in or manifest dictate more of the decisions that we made, and that's where people see the truth. And if I don't want to repeat that pattern, I have to see the truth of maybe how before I wasn't clear on my truth, wasn't speaking my truth, was kind of more afraid of taking that leap of faith, and I was maybe more defensive, is what the Queen of Swords can talk about, and didn't really believe in myself and believe in my dreams, and I'm done with that. When I no longer align with moving forward with these energies in a more shadowy way, again, the Queen of Swords can be, I'm defending this. I'm going to go repeat this old pattern. I am defensive to believing in myself, believing in my dreams, stepping out of my comfort zone. So I'm going to repeat this old pattern. And when people quit aligning with that within themselves, and they've kind of worked through some things, looked at life a little differently, looked at life from a higher perspective, again, maybe healed, have less things that manipulate them than used to manipulate them, gotten less codependent, feel more inspired and balanced within themselves. As they're doing that, some people are going to be defensive to being in a relationship with you anymore, because now your truth is different than what it used to be, and that is still their truth. And you kind of see the truth of it. And they could try to get you to stay and do this, but it's like, it'd be like someone when you did, like, at any of these stages of life that you've been at, things you used to do and you thought were great and living the life when you were 15, and then, like, getting in relationships with people, and then as you want to become more like an 18 and a 21-year-old, and you have people in your life that want you to keep doing, looking at life from this same 15-year-old perspective and do still some of those things and just stay here and do this and don't do that. It's like, that's not the person I was anymore. At one time, was that great? Yeah, but it's part of the dream. And part of listening to my intuition is knowing if I want to keep growing to my full potential, I can't kind of keep indulging my more immature nature. I need to step out of my comfort zone and work through my emotional confusion and my defensiveness. And that does take work and effort, but I am inspired to do it because I don't want to keep repeating a certain pattern. And again, other people, they're not inspired to do it. And of course, some people, it's like, I might have made some of these changes when I was younger, 15, 18, 21, 25. But my idea of the dream life was when I didn't have to do those changes anymore. I might have had to do some of those things just out of social pressure. And some people have a lot more harder time with change than other people. And they could be people who really like to stay in a comfort zone. And even if it starts to cause them a lot of mental conflict, it's like people want to stay in a time warp. No, we should keep doing this. This was my idea of the dream life. I don't really like stepping out of my comfort zone. I don't really like doing anything different. This was always my idea of the dream life. Well, they have to go find someone else who also doesn't want to change and who also doesn't want to listen to their intuition, who also maybe doesn't want to face their fears. But other people do. And that can really make them mad. Because again, they could have things and people in their life, things within themselves that manipulate them, that they have a lot of mental conflict about. High vibe energy is about being more independent, shining your authentic light, being more balanced within yourself, speaking up for yourself, standing in your truth from love and for justice and fairness. And shadowy energy can be more about just conforming to the world. No, if these people are still doing this and everybody else thinks that's okay and just and fair, I'm going to keep doing that. Or if these people that say they love me or that I have love for, they're still doing this or doing that, I don't want to move forward if they don't move forward. And then you kind of see that kind of the primary people in their life that are kind of this core foundation that they hold on to could be their friend group or their family group or some other people. It's like, I don't think you got over someone in your past, you know? And go be with them or sit here hoping one day they'll want to be in a relationship with you. But some of those people also don't want to see the truth that some of those people aren't ever going to be in a relationship with them. But for some reason, it's like, no, 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 that's the person. That's the only person my dream can come into reality with. That's not true. Your dream can only come into reality with other people who are kind of on the same page at the same time as you. And when some people show us that's not their truth, we should see the truth of it and realize our dream is not going to come into reality with them because their truth is different than our truth. So then we have these two cards not showing themselves. The Angel of Love in reverse and the sixth chakra. Which again, I guess, is kind of more listening to your intuition. And love and what you love and what you think is just and fair. We can know people have all these issues within them. We can know they have all these things or people or the world and different things that kind of manipulate them. But they have to free themselves. And though you might not be talking or communicating or in relationship with certain people, sometimes when people aren't in relationship with us, just like some people we wanted to be in a relationship with, want to be in a relationship with someone else. If people aren't investing in us and working with us to bring that dream into reality and speaking the truth and being authentic, it can be because some of those people, that's not their truth, and it's kind of shadowy and manipulative. And some people did speak their truth, and some people still don't want to believe it. The difference, I think, with some of the high vibe people is they did do the work to see the truth. The truth set them free. And what some people don't know about them people could know, oh, that person isn't in a relationship with them or communicating with them anymore, and they're not working on a dream together anymore. Well, some of the people we were in a relationship with could have people in their life that they're not communicating with or really in relationship with anymore, but that could really bother them. Sometimes it's just people in the world that they think shine bright and seem to have more status and image in the world, and that really bothers them because that's kind of what manipulates them. If people kind of seem, regardless of whether it's true or not, in some people's perception, they view some people as seeming very victorious and successful. And like, I want those people to like me. I want those people to be in a relationship with me. I don't understand why those people don't want to be in a relationship with me. And it really gets them in their ego. Some other people that can be friends with those people, they don't get it. They're like, why do you give a damn about what those people are doing? Well, it just really bothers me, and I don't know why those people don't want to be my friend. And the other people are like, I think they're kind of full of themselves or snobby or maybe immature or whatever. Why don't you just want to move forward with people who do work together with you in a more just and fair and loving way? And again, why it could really bother them is because they're more driven by their ego and their image, and they think if they put value on something that other people don't put value on, and other people saw the truth of it. And some people who are like that think other people again think like they do. And if I want you to do what I want you to do, I'm going to turn my back to you. Again, shadowy people could think you're just trying to manipulate them, basically, because that's how they're not truthful and authentic and loving and just and fair with people. They try to manipulate people to get them to do what they want, and they could be used to being in friendship and relationship with people who are like that. So they could think you're just trying to manipulate them, that you're operating out of your ego, you're just putting on a show. And so they could do all these things like shadowy Leo, like, look at me, look, I'm doing this, look, I'm hanging out with these people, look. You see it. The only thing is that they don't realize is that you've seen through the illusion. You learn the lesson you're meant to learn. And you probably, maybe the angel of love, we kind of look at as Pisces energy, as the Knight of Cups or the Nine of Cups, that they have these illusions about themselves. They have illusions about other people. They're so caught up in this stuff. They manipulate, other people can manipulate them. And you had a lot of mental conflict with that kind of behavior. That's not just and fair and loving. And again, some of those people think you're just putting on a show, but you're not. Your truth is different than their truth. You are not in shadowy energy anymore. You have had this new beginning. You've had victory over your more an old pattern, your more immature, whatever nature. And they don't realize that, kind of like you're not up in your head about them anymore, and that you don't want a new beginning with them anymore. Just that they might not know it. What's coming up for the people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy that they might not see coming up? And you might not be having a new beginning with anyone because you could have just been taking this time within yourself to work through all of that. Not wanting to have a new beginning with someone when you still have this, you want to be healed. That needs to be completely over. Though, even though you could have moved away from people, it's just I'm not going to take action more out of pride or ego or just to feel better or lust or whatever. I'm going to do this work within myself to free myself from things and people that manipulated me. And until I do that, I'm not going to, I can still have my jobs and my friends and people I enjoy, but I'm not going to take action more out of pride and ego. And just like you could do that, other people are doing that. And for some people, that makes them mad because they could see you staying over here. And again, they could think you're just trying to manipulate them. It's like, well, for one, if I'm treating people in my life the way I like to be treated, in a just and fair manner, I treat you like I treat other people in the world. Some people are mad that, it's like they're just waiting for some people to take action um, out of a more shadowy energy, or maybe kind of chase them or something. And then they would take action towards you. It's like, I don't really care what you do. Say it wasn't someone you were in a relationship with, someone new. I'm keeping my options open, and I guess if you're still defensive from things you've gone through, or you're just a more egoic person, then I'm going to let you stay over there, because if you're waiting for me to take action out of shadowy energy, that ain't going to happen. And so you also might be seeing with other people, you're listening to your intuition and maintaining balance within yourself. And again, some people don't like that, because if you would tip out of balance, people would get in a relationship with you, at least for the day or the night, out of ego or something. And it's like, I'm not doing that. If there's nobody around that seems to be like someone who's more on the same page as me in a romantic interest, I am staying here. And in high vibe, Capricorn and Aquarius, I have a dream. And I feel solid and stable and grounded and abundant within myself, and in my life that I'm okay with. And if there's only fake people who try to create an illusion and are more about themselves or egotistical, you can just keep doing your thing, and I'm going to keep doing my thing. Oh, that's funny, like this, of people like, come on, don't you see me as more loving? Aren't you kind of bought up in the illusion I am? It's like, are you going to speak your truth or not? Are you willing to get to know me and be more authentic? Or it's only like if I were to kind of chase after you and kind of be more codependent or in lust or something, that then you would be willing? It's like, I don't want to be in a relationship with someone like that. I'm treating you the way I treat people. If that's not enough for you, then I guess, and if you think you would like to maybe move things forward a little bit, then I guess you'd have to let me know that. And everybody could know some people. You could know some people. Some other people could know you. And people are just taking this time to get to know each other, because of some past situations. They're kind of fearful because of other experiences. And over time, getting to know each other, becoming a little more illuminated to the truth of who each other is, people might decide, I don't want to move forward with other people, like going on a new adventure. This is my truth. And some people could feel that way in relationships that they're in right now. What's coming up for the high vibe people? The Ten of Swords, the Knight of Cups, the Nine of Pentacles, and the reason is because of the Page of Swords. So the Page of Swords in high vibe could represent, in high vibe energy, in your Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini nature of free will. You're defending your truth about being more independent of your shadow nature and being more manipulated by your mind and people who aren't communicating with you, people who aren't offering you love. I see the truth. If people were motivated to offer me love and be more independent with me and move forward in how I'm moving forward, they might be in another relationship. Okay, I accept the truth of that. I'm not going to stay on my ego about it. My dream isn't codependent in my Pisces energy on it being certain people. I just need to find people who are on the same page at the same time as me, and I know my worth and value, and I'm truthful and authentic and just and fair and loving and grounded and stable and insightful and mature. I'm sure I will find some other people in the world. God wants me to be able to manifest my dreams into reality. And if there's some people who aren't willing to offer me love, or some people who I found out are more immature, or their dream is different, then God must have another plan for me. And I'm going to listen to my intuition and, be willing to get to know other people, but I'm not going to indulge in my more worldly nature and get in a relationship until I get to know people. The pages can be, again, these friendly gestures to get to know people, and that it doesn't move any further. And the Nine of Pentacles is Virgo energy until I kind of get clear about what kind of more emotionally drives and motivates people. Because I've already been in a relationship with people who are more caught up in themselves and the world, and I view them as being kind of immature. I want to be in relationships with people who are more inspired to be independent of their more worldly nature, who are more inspired by truth and love and more abundant within themselves to be in a more just and fair and balanced relationship. And as you do this work within yourself, you kind of see who is more prideful, who is more defensive, who isn't taking action, who is not speaking the truth, who is willing to work with you more cooperatively and maybe put an end to immaturity or something, and has grown up and matured themselves, and who hasn't. And through this whole process, you will overcome maybe your more codependent nature because you've been doing this work to know your worth and value and love and believe in yourself. And you will become independent of this, and you will have a new beginning. And as you move forward, not investing your time, energy, and effort into people who aren't investing in a just and fair and loving way with you, it frees you up to meet other people who've went through that same experience, who are now moving forward to meet new people. And again, you'll kind of go through this with the next people that you meet. I'm not as naive and fearful or defensive, and I've learned some things in life. Each one of those pentacles can be lessons that you've learned in life. And the Nine of Pentacles is very stable and abundant, emotionally mature, loving, nurturing, and you know your worth and value, and you're not going to settle for the illusion or less than you deserve. And if other people don't want to work together with you in that energy, well, then go find someone else. And that could bother them because they'd like to do that, but that requires them to come out from behind their ego and be more authentic and stand up to their more immature, shadowy nature and other people in their life who could tempt them to live their life like that, and say that's not my truth. But some of them are like, damn, I gotta go find someone else. I wonder who else I can deceive and manipulate. I wonder who else I can present myself as loving to, because these people aren't buying it. It was like, yeah, I'm not missing anything, right? Not being in a relationship with people like that. It's like, you go manipulate someone else and be full of yourself and think it should be more about you with someone else. I'm looking for someone who wants to be more authentic, who feels stable and grounded within themselves enough to be more authentic and loving. What's coming up for the shadowy people that they might not see coming? The Six of Cups. Why? Because of the Temperance energy. So the Temperance is Sagittarius energy, which is about higher learning and education. It's also like a universe card, like the Divine. These people are going to keep repeating a pattern of the past, is what the Six of Cups talks about. The truth sets you free. people can try to create an illusion they're more mature, stable, and grounded and mature than they are, but eventually other people see the truth and other people become independent of them because they repeat these old patterns and they expect other people to just balance out their emotions about the fact that they repeat some of these old patterns. And some people are like, I've already been in relationships with people who kind of repeat some of those patterns. I want to be in a relationship with someone who is independent of repeating some of those patterns because of ways that they think or they feel or they indulge themselves or their defensive nature or getting up in their head or their immature nature or their prideful nature or their defensive nature. And more high vibrational people become independent of them. I don't want to repeat that pattern. It's like being in a relationship with someone, say if you're like 40 years old, and then someone does some bullshit that's kind of like shit you could have experienced in relationships when you're like 21 or 25. It's like, are you kidding? And that's when people are like, what the hell? And the other people are like, oh, but you love me and you want this dream to come into reality. And people can be patient for a while, is what the Temperance card. Try to figure out what the hell is going on. Somebody is repeating like a poor past pattern. But eventually it gets to be, I'm done being patient. I've communicated my truth. I don't like this, And basically you just see that nobody would repeat some poor past patterns if there isn't a part of them that wants to repeat that poor past pattern and replay out that kind of relationship dynamic. Because that is kind of the truth of where they're at, maybe emotionally. And it's like, you know what? What they don't see coming is some people in their life who did want to work with them and move forward with them again have been patient. But eventually the people who aren't willing to give up their dreams and repeat old patterns or live a life of illusion that isn't aligned with their truth are going to make peace with the situation, balance their emotions about it out, and tell people the truth. I'm no longer in denial of the truth. I'm no longer in mental conflict about it. I have worked through it and I am moving forward, and I'm not moving forward with you. And the shadowy people will have to balance out their emotions again that other people got balanced within themselves. Both the Six of Cups and the Temperance card in High Vibe talk about balance, but they keep being out of balance. And they could just want a more imbalanced relationship. I want to be more immature or defensive or superficial or shallow or more about me or whatever. And that is their truth. And they're looking to find someone who's willing to be the counterpart to that. And I think if they keep doing this, the people that are going to stay in a relationship with them are other people who that is their truth. That is how they like to work with people or what kind of drives and motivates them and their emotional maturity level. And those people could move forward. And it's more about let's not become independent of a stage of life. Let's just keep doing this forever. And that's fine. Everybody has the free will to live their life whatever way they want. But there's, we all know people that could be the same age as us and all the different ways they're living their life. That's fine. Everybody has free will to live their life the way they want. But they could be mad that other people, we could view some people as kind of immature or stubborn or prideful or self-indulgent or more materialistic or looking to other things to be the answer to their life problems. Those people in turn could look at other people as being that way. And it doesn't really matter. Live your truth. Some of them might be happy because they find someone who seems to be on the same page as them. Well, again, if we keep repeating certain patterns over and over and over, again, it's kind of like staying like 21 forever, or 25 or 15. But again, if some people have a lot of mental conflict with change, that might be what makes them feel stable and grounded within themselves. It's just that there was more potential for them to, but just like everybody, and just like we have more potential, we could think we're, so mature and so stable and grounded, and other people could be like, oh my gosh, why are you still doing that? Why aren't you becoming independent? I mean, I guess unless you're really, I don't know, really putting in, again, it could depend on people's, what they're driven and motivated by. You kind of got to be inspired to want to put in, again, the work and effort. We all have the free will to choose our idea of the dream life. And other people are much more driven. It's like, gosh, I don't understand why other people aren't putting in this work and effort. You know, they just are more inspired to put in some more of that work and effort. Us even in comparison to them. So everybody's somewhere on the spectrum, and everybody has the free will to defend their truth and what they love and what they find enjoyable. And some people are going to become independent of us because they feel like we don't get it. We're going to become independent of some people because we think they don't get it. And it's just to move forward to keep trying to find people who we think are more on the same page as us. See who seems more at any of those stages. We want to be in relationships with people who whatever stage we're at that we want to give birth to, and in high vibe Scorpio, it would be more deep, meaningful, a little more authentic and mature, loving relationships than an old phase of life. And they're going to go do that, and some other people want to keep doing what they're doing. So there you go, Pisces. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.